Today's message from Reverend Christian Sorensen was recorded July 24th, 2016, and it's titled, What's Distracting You? Subtitled, from Lily Tomlin, For Fast-Acting Relief, Try Slowing Down. You can always come visit us at www.seasidecenter.org, or if you're in Encinitas, California, you can join us, where we always have some great music, a spirited message, and a joyful, loving community that awaits you.
Feel the joy, feel the peace, and the comfort of home, 'cause all are welcome here. Yes, all are welcome
That's the beauty of community. We've got the Seaside family, and we all go through our ups and our downs and our experiences. And just remember, call me. You know, it's like you got the practitioners, you got the friends, you got the family who have a similar understanding on how we work on things. So glad you're here. Hey, I love seeing that camera out, Richard. Everybody take out your cameras and let people know on your Facebook page where you are. Check in. Let them know the happening spot on Sunday morning is right here. You get to see Rebecca Jade sing and of course Janice, Nathan. It's just fabulous. And so this morning's message, even though it's not up there, oh, it is up there. I was going to say I think I remember it anyway. But Debbie did a great reading. I like that one a lot. But anyway, what's distracting you? What a powerful question to ask yourself. What's distracting me from seeing that presence of God? Now, I want you to understand that it doesn't matter how charmed a life you live or how blessed you are. And I feel I am really blessed. I love my life. And I have had my challenges also. And so I want us to find strength in the realization that even though you are living a blessed life, there still can be some disruptions or difficulties or distractions along the way. You agree with that? Good. I'm not the only one. I was thinking, I don't know, my life's good. But, even Ram Dass, he wrote in his classic, Be Here Now. We were probably all kids when that came out back then. But one of the things he talked about is our spiritual practices. And he said our spiritual practices are like roller coasters. You know, you got your highs, and then it's not unusual to find lows that come after those great, amazing moments. And when you're aware of this, then you're not caught up in the cycles of the phase and thinking that's going to go on forever. And then he adds that not only do you have the highs and the lows, but you have the ins and the outs. And sometimes when we go in the cycles, all you want to do is find that quiet place and meditate and feel that inner place. And then other times you want to go out into the marketplace and get involved out there in this world. But you've got to realize and recognize that your meditations can help you in the marketplace, and the marketplace can help you in your meditations. And for some reason, we seem to separate our spiritual practices here, and here, but the truth is that they are all connected. So what's important is to recognize that whatever is going on in your life is your spiritual practice. So don't get distracted and say, oh, this is the end of the world. This is terrible. I have been abandoned by God. What is distracting you from remembering whatever is going on for you is your spiritual practice, because you are this spiritual expression. And let us come from that connectedness with an awareness we call the Christ consciousness. It's not a person, but it's a state of absolute connectedness with the infinite that can move through you. That's what we want to do. What happens is we come from our human wisdom, which can be good, but it also could be wrong. Yeah, I mean, think about it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of based on your past experience, common sense, but I want you to have something that is just even greater than your common sense, your non-common sense that comes directly from the divine. It comes from the infinite wisdom, the infinite inspiration, that divine guidance, that infinite spiritual aspect that is seeking to express itself through your body, through your life, through your world of affairs. But don't allow yourself to get distracted and think, oh, it's not here or it can't happen. Rumi, the Persian mystic, said that when you go into the garden, do you look at the flowers or the thorns? Spend more time with the roses and the jasmine. Do you look at life and say, oh, this is terrible. Look what the headlines are saying. The place is burning and all sorts of other stories I could get into, but I'm not, because we're between conventions right now. It's a time of peace. Are you looking at the roses or the flowers? Or are you looking at the thorns? What's distracting you is the question you keep asking yourself, because your mind likes information because it's interesting. But your soul, it craves inspiration because it's refreshing, it's invigorating, it's enlivening. To be in spirit is magical and it's wonderful. And so when you're in spirit and things happen, and it's like I'm living a blessed life, but this doesn't look like it's too blessed, I'm not going to be distracted. I've got to recognize that a mindful practice is to take whatever the experience is and use it as my teaching lesson. I'm not going to get distracted and say, Spirit's not here, but rather I'm going to use what's going on in my life, this distraction, and say, okay, where's Spirit here? What is it that I can learn? I'm going to become mindful, and I have seen amazing mindful practices. I have watched an individual who has severe asthma who brought the mindful awareness to when the body began to contract and the muscles in the throat and the breathing would bring the mindful practice to get the body to relax and surrender and began to be more comfortable when that began to take over the body. I've watched someone with severe pain and treatments for their cancer experience bring a mindful awareness to the fear that came about when it was thinking about the next treatment and began to practice loving kindness with the body as a complement to the chemotherapy. I've watched politicians who are just absolutely upset with all the attack and become mindful and recognize that it's just part of the process. Watch a mindful, single, frazzled mom of preschool kids recognize through mindful practice that the frazzleness needed a little bit more space in our world. You know, what I'm getting at is when we choose to be mindful as opposed to distracted by the experience that is going on in our life, we begin to free ourselves, to liberate ourselves, and allow ourselves to walk in this world with a sense of well-being and strength, and recognize that if I get stuck, I really need to take a look at what is. You know, what's so here? If I'm stuck, I can use all these spiritual platitudes that I want. But you know, why don't I just take a look at what's so? Right? Use the experience of being stuck to open my eyes and say, okay, how is it that I'm stuck? There's a Zen saying that says that when you understand what is, I'm getting that mixed up here. When you understand that the things are the way they are, then when you don't understand, they're still just the way they are. Okay? You understand the way they are is the way they are. And when you don't understand, the way they are is the way they are. I mean, that's it. So when you're stuck, what I'm saying here is just take a look at what's so. You may be able to come up with all of these metaphysical interpretations, but what's so right here? Be willing to take a look at it, because I'll tell you what, it doesn't matter what is so that is going on in your physical world, and if there's a fact there, a physical fact, you got to deal with that. And if there's a challenge and there's a difficulty and there's distractions, and it doesn't matter to what magnitude, I want you to be aware that your awareness has never been affected. It is your awareness that can look down upon that situation and go, whoa, not again, Christian. Really? You know, it is your awareness that says, ooh, we got some pain coming up here, but you know what? I'm going to bring some mindfulness to it. It is your awareness that has never been affected by a diagnosis, what the doctor said, what the bank account says, what the business said, or what have you. There is an awareness that has not been impacted by the difficulties of this world. That is the observation. That is the observer. That is the one that is looking upon it. It's what I call the mountaintop view. I'm not down in the junk. I am the one observing myself in the distractions of this world. Got that? That observer has never been impacted. Ernest Holmes says that part of you that has never been violated. You can call it awareness. You can call it the observer consciousness. You can call it the witness. I call it the mountaintop view. But there's that part that's just not caught up in the hoopla of the physical. It's the analogy that we've probably heard of the sky. You know, those beautiful blue skies we've been having the last several days. I like that. But you can throw in a few clouds, nice white puffy clouds. That's nice. It's still sky. You know, you can throw in the fog we had this morning. you know what? It really didn't impact the sky. I may not be able to see it, but the sky still is. Or you can throw in storms and thunder and lightning and cell clouds and all sorts of hurricanes and not tsunamis, but water spouts. You know, it doesn't affect the sky. The sky is just having all this activity pass through it. Your awareness is like the sky. All that's going on in your world is just passing through it. Now you can get attached and distracted and say, oh man, this is really the truth of who I am. I've been screwed. Oh man, that's not good. Or you can say, I'm going to be mindful of this experience in my life and not be distracted by the difficulties or the challenges or what has happened here. I am free. Now Ralph Waldo Emerson, great American essayist, he said, let me not fall to the vulgar mistake of dreaming that I'm being persecuted when I'm just being contradicted. Let me not fall to the vulgar mistake of dreaming that I'm being persecuted, that you're out to get me, that you're attacking me, because basically you don't agree with me. You got a different perspective. You have a different, just because I'm being contradicted doesn't mean you're attacking me. But what does our mind do? We create these scenarios. I'm being attacked. You're not being attacked. They don't agree with you. Fine. That's it. Get rid of the garbage. That comes into your mind. I mean, definitely don't put it in there yourself. You got enough friends that are willing to do that. Yeah. I mean, seriously, imagine if you had a neighbor come up with their trash. Instead of putting it on the curb, they thought they'd put it in your living room. That would get your attention, wouldn't it? Yeah, it would. You'd be very well aware the next time they came over, you're going to be on guard to make sure you look. Oh, you're not bringing garbage, are you? But what do we allow them to do with our mind? Right? Same thing, exactly. You allow them to come over and dump the garbage, the gossip, the slurs, the attacks, the belittling, the fears. Just dump more. I was like, not anymore. Thank you very much. I'm being mindful. And man, I'd like to help you, but if you're allowing yourself to be a garbage dump and you're getting all that garbage, you don't get to dump it on me. I wish that wasn't your truth. But you know what? I'm not going to hang out with garbage, because if I hang out with garbage, I'm going to stink myself. And we really don't want to stink. So what is it I can do here, with what's going on? Well, what I can do is bring forth my higher aspect of my being. We can begin to feel what Spirit has given us. Not what the world has given us, because as we get from the world, we usually have to trade, barter, exchange, earn it, deserve it. But, we're told that, my peace I give you. Not as the world gives, because you got to earn it, deserve it, all those things I just said. That's the world gives, but that's I give. That's what God's saying. I give you the peace, and that peace, or whatever it is you need, that's what I give you. Not because you have to earn it or deserve it, because it's all been given already. What you've got to do is step into that realization. What you've got to step into is being mindful that there are distractions as I walk this world. And you know what? I do not need to get pulled into those distractions and think this is the truth and that I need to overcome it with my mind, because that's just about distractions. What I've got to begin to do is to recognize and to realize who I am as an expression of the divine. What I am is this greater awareness, and I can live from the mountaintop or this higher place, and not from a place of distractions of trying to put this fire out, and this fire out, but rather I'm going to be in this place and become mindful of my walk in this world. Dipama, a wonderful Bangladesh saint she was a Buddhist who taught mindful practices and meditations, really brought the Vipassana meditation to the U.S. And she was interviewed by a psychologist at Harvard. And he said to her that, the Buddhists, believe that you just want to really get rid of from your life, things like greed and hatred, ignorance. But, if you get rid of them, he asked her, wouldn't life kind of be like dull, drab, like gray, like kind of uneventful? And she just laughed, kind of like, she just laughed. She said, that's the challenge, is that people seem to look at life through the same lens of hate or greed or delusion. And when you begin to drop those lenses, what happens is you are present for what is new, and every moment is new, and every moment brings the freshness, the excitement, the newness, the aliveness, and the presence of God. It is in this present moment where the dynamic expression of life can unfold itself. Am I willing to drop my other stuff that has distracted me so I can be present for the new expression of the divine in this world in which I'm walking? And if I can do that, can I do that with the person in front of me? We learn all these wonderful spiritual practices. I'm going to, see this person I'm having distraction with, the problems with in my life. I'm going to envision them, but it's kind of not easy. But I mean, it's one thing to forgive them and love them in your imagination. We do that in classes all the time. See this person, a pink bubble, I love you so much, even though you did me wrong, I forgive. That's one thing. But can you do it to their face? Can you really do that practice and look at that person? Because I'll tell you what, when you bring love to pain, what you get is compassion. When you bring love to happiness, what you get is joy. Which is really good. I like that joy thing. Joy is a heart that is enlivened, that is awake, that is alive, that is liberated. Can I bring the presence of love and joy to every situation and not be distracted? Lorna, she went to this retreat. Jack Cornfield shares this about Lorna, so I guess it's okay, so that's why I'm sharing it with you. But anyway, she went to the spring retreat. It was a long residential retreat, and on the first day she was sitting down in the room was this one guy that really, his energy she had trouble with. He sat close, he was fidgety, he moved, get up and moved to another chair. He was an ex-Marine, his name is Bud, wore t-shirts, showed all of his tattoos. He smelled like tobacco and smoke, and Lorna shared with Cornfield about the energy of him is really disturbing her. And as she brought her mindfulness to it, she recognized that what he was doing was bringing up her past memories of the pain in male relationships that she had experienced. But as she continued to stay mindful, because this is what happens, is that we get mindful, and I got it, yeah, that's it. There's more. Well, no, I got this one. I'm going to stick with, man, he pushes my buttons. No, there's more. And what she discovered is really what I want us to get, is that she discovered her greatest pain was coming not from him, but from her imagination. Exactly. There's a lot of exactly. It's not like this, what's in front of me is where the pain is. It's the imagination that is running wild with all the past stuff and all that could happen and had happened and would happen and might happen. And we're just becoming so distracted over here that we are forgetting that we're expressions of the divine, a divine emanation of life itself. What we've got to do is be willing to step into that place and say, okay, I got something in me that it may not be the healthiest, but Ram Dass says you got your highs, your lows, you got the ins and the outs. Maybe they're just cycles. Albert Camus, the wonderful French philosopher, won Nobel Prize for Literature in 1957, was instrumental in starting the branch of absurdism of philosophy. I love that. But he said that we all have that place of exile, of crime, of ravage inside of us. And our task is not to unleash it on the world, but to transform it within. So, you get that? We all got something, well, maybe not you. Me, yes. Camus, yes. There's something inside of us, but we don't want to go, and just dump it on others. Our job is to transmute it, to transform it, to quiet that. Because as we go there, we come to discoveries we never knew we would have had. I was reminded of that this week. Callie and I and Trevor went to Mammoth, spend some time with some of our family friends for a couple days up there. And we drove by a trailhead that she and I took out when we were preparing to hike the Himalayas with her. And we took with us her niece and her teenage nephew. And it was called Duck Pass. And Duck Pass is you hike, high altitude in a great ways, but you come across this mountain wall, and there's a pass through it that then takes you out to your car and you're back. Well, so we got up early in the morning, had breakfast, got an early start, and we left the lake behind as we hiked through the trees. It was gorgeous. The mountaintops, we were so high. We were above the tree line looking down at Sierra Mountain peaks and the valleys. It was incredible. And it was after lunch, and we're still hiking, exhausted. Legs are getting rubbery by then, really praying for that duck pass to get home. Went down into the valley. Everybody's sitting down by the river because no one can really move any longer. Well, Callie and I, the teens had no problem. But, so now I'm looking. It's a valley that is surrounded three sides by impassable mountain walls that are towering, and there's a pass through it somewhere, which I never found. And so after hiking for 5 or 6 hours, I got to come back and tell the group, guys, we got to walk back, which didn't go over very well. And so by the time we did get back, before sunset, I'd like to say, even though the legs were wobbly and we were giddy and not longer having oxygen in our blood, but we made it. But I just share this story because what I realize is that, sometimes you've got to take the wrong path to see beauty you would never see otherwise, It's, yeah. Took me 20 years, but I finally came up for a reason with that. That's good. You just can't see some of the beauty if you don't take the wrong path in your life. You've got that something inside of you that wants to distract you, but you are the one who gets to decide whether I'm going to allow my distraction to go that way or not. You are the one who gets to decide, am I going to learn from this experience, or am I going to remain stuck here? What I have come to discover from fairy tales, and the thing about fairy tales that are more than true, and it's not just that dragons live, but that we can beat the dragons. You got that? You can beat the dragons, you can beat the distractions, you can beat the difficulties. What we have to do sometimes is to recognize that our well-placed meditation, quiet circles definitely need some distraction sometimes. Sometimes our plan needs to be disturbed so we can have an experience beyond what our mind thought it was we're going to or supposed to have. And so as I'm willing to recognize that, I can beat the dragons, I can beat the distraction, I can move through the difficulties, but I've got to do it. And that's the beauty, to have a friend to lean on, as you were so beautifully singing. Giving God a call and say, hey, I need some help here. But what happens too often that I've seen is rather than being mindful as you're going through the medical treatments, rather than being mindful as you're having difficulty finding space in your life or your world, rather than being mindful when all of a sudden you feel like you're being persecuted, people will, I've noticed, go into their house and they pull down the blinds and it gets dark in there, and this is where they are safe, and they'll flip on the switch. And that's one thing if it's a cycle or a phase where you go in there to catch your breath, but what happens too often is people become accustomed to the faux light, to the light that is the lamp, and they stay in this place with the shades down, and they become comfortable, and they forget what it's like outside. They forget what the sunlight looks like because they've got the light, but it's not real. Yeah. They forget what it's like to have the freshness. They continue to look through the same lens in a protected little orb. And that's what we do so often in this human experience, is that we have pulled the blinds down to our divine connection, to that Christ consciousness, to being that transparency or that conduit through which that Spirit flows, and not by the ways in which this world says it should flow, but my ways are not of this world. I bring you the peace, but not the way the peace of this world gives. It is there, but what happens is we have allowed the distractions of this human incarnation, this form, to say this is what light looks like, this is what Spirit looks like, and this is what a happy, content life looks like. And we begin to forget what it is like to abandon having to control everything and being distracted by trying to hold everything in place, and be willing to go on a path where we get lost and find something new and beautiful and magical that we never knew. Coming across the dragons and discovering who I have inside of me is far greater than that. And so when we find ourselves stuck in our orb or in our house with the shades down, we have a wonderful thing in our philosophy called spiritual mind treatment. Some may just call it prayer. But what I want us to get about prayer prayer is that the words we use are a wonderful start to prayer. And we teach you how to use beautiful words. I can tell you how to be as flowery as anybody. But I want us to understand that the words are just like a step ladder to get me a little bit higher above the roof line, the ridge line, the tree line. Our words are like a bridge that will carry us from our orb or entombment or whatever we want to call it. That bridge will take us out into the sunlight where all of a sudden I no longer have the words because I am having the divine revelation and an experience of God itself, of the light itself, of what that warmth is. Our prayers are not where it happens. It is what takes us, but so often people just stay in their prayers because they're being distracted by getting it right or saying the right thing. And how was that for you? Was that good for you? Rather than, wow, this is good. This is God. This is beautiful. This is life. There are no distractions. There is just the light. And it's not about preaching. It's about realizing. It is about experiencing. It is experiencing it yourself. Because I'm no longer caught in the what ifs or the distractions or the description or the human thought of how it should be, but rather there is the Christ realization that is going on in my field of revelation or realization or understanding. The light is so bright that all of a sudden I just become that divine transparency for Spirit to show up in this world in ways that are right, relevant, and beautiful as I walk in this world. And when I am walking, I am distracted and my life is blessed and my life is charmed and I have a distraction or a difficulty show up, I'm not going to lose my power. I'm going to become mindful and realize that there's something inside of me that is far greater than anything that this world could throw at me. And if I have gotten lost, I know that there's something even more beautiful than my mind ever knew. And guess what? God, bring it on. I'm ready for it. God bless us as we do that.
Such a long way home from where you have been. And what will it take to bring you back again? And all your searching's brought you to this place. You cry for mercy and you long for grace. Feel the love, feel the light. Won't you come in from the cold? 'Cause all are welcome here. Feel the joy, feel the peace, and the comfort of home. 'Cause all are welcome here. Yes, all are welcome here. You cry for mercy and you long for grace. Feel the love, feel the light. Won't you come in from the cold? 'Cause all are welcome here. Feel the joy, feel the peace, and the comfort of home. 'Cause all are welcome here. Yes, all are welcome here. Here.
All Are Welcome Here, from the album Path of Light, was co-written by Peggy Lebo and Reverend Christian Sorensen. It's available at www.peggylebo.com.